must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Thank you for joining us. This is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and she's a pleasure to have you today joining us this morning of 18th of August 2021, and we're coming to you from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are tuned in. I'll go quickly through the headlines, and then we shall start our conversation after I have introduced my panelist this morning. So on the Daily Nation, the main headline, political hardball, and then has Kenya lost the track of COVID deaths, thousands failed to take up varsity slots, and justice for Embu brothers, 6 police officers arraigned. And then Linturi, the master of passing the buck. And that is what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation. And then we go to the Star newspaper, and the main headline, the rise and fall of Matatu King Sonko, ex-governor forced his way to City Hall. Elite fought back and Kenyatta got involved. The story is an exclusive on the Star newspaper, page 14 and 15. Then just up there, Raila Odinga says a giant political machine is coming. And then just down there, 6 corpses linked to death of Kia Njokoma brothers detained for 2 weeks. And then over 13,000 with C+ and above snub university places. That is what we have on the front page of the Star newspaper. We turn our attention to the Standard newspaper. The main headline, Uhuru calls another Raila OKA meeting. And then 500,000 miss out on college placements. And then Tuju sues EADB for 3.1 billion Kenya shillings. That is what we have on the front page of the Standard newspaper. So let's just, let me bring in my panelists this morning. And I'm joined by Douglas Kirimi, all the way from Meru County. Douglas, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam Mogutu, and also to our viewers across the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where they're watching us from. Thank you for having you on the show.
Very well. Nice to have you, Douglas. And we are also joined by Samuel Tawish, a journalist from Nairobi. Tawish, a very good morning to you. Okay. Go ahead, Tawish. Good morning. Okay, so as we wait for Tawish to join, hopefully they can all stay alert there. I think I'll just move on to our first topic of discussion this morning, and that is the main headline on the Standard newspaper. Uhuru calls another Raila OKA meeting. President summons a meeting with One Kenya Alliance principals and ODM leader Raila Odinga on a day the coalition of Moi, Mudavadi, Kalonzo and Wetangula vows to pick one of them to fly the One Kenya Alliance flag in presidential polls. The story is on page 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's just go there and find out what this is all about. So President Uhuru Kenyatta has convened another meeting with ODM leader Raila Odinga and the One Kenya Alliance at State House, Mombasa today. The meeting comes a day after the President's Jubilee Party resolved to formally enter into a coalition pact with ODM in what sources said is a culmination of his decision to back Raila to succeed him. Uhuru met the leaders a week ago at the same venue. Insiders say this is a follow-up on the meeting, which focused on forming a formidable alliance to face off with the Deputy President William Ruto in the next year's general election. Douglas Kirimi, your thoughts on that?
Miriam, at the end of the day, I've said that we are having a problem in this One Kenya Alliance because, Miriam, I do not see why grown-ups would keep meeting and meeting and meeting until the president has to convene another meeting. They all know Moses Masika Wetangula cannot become president as it is today. Musalia Mudavadi can never become president as it is today. Gideon Moi, because of his money, can get into a formidable alliance with someone and become a deputy president, or maybe a rid of majority or something. But he himself, at this point, he cannot be able to face the DP on the ballot. So, Miriam, at the end of the day, they should be able to focus their energies in supporting the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, rather than keeping the people of Kenya waiting one meeting after another. Next week, you shall hear, before next week is over, 3 more meetings from One Kenya Alliance. Why are they doing meetings and the retreats and the conferences and everything that they are doing, Miriam? At the end of the day, the people of Kenya are watching and what they are doing. But at the end of the day, you need to keep asking yourself this question, Miriam. Why are these people keeping us in the wait? And we all know that the only formidable politician to take on the deputy president is the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who enjoys immense support across the nation, a man that has always triumphed beyond expectations of so many politicians. And another man that has come close to what Raila can be able to pull across the country is Deputy President William Ruto, who took advantage of government resources and government programs to go across the nation, empowering the people and speaking to the people. Moses Wetangula lives in Nairobi. Musalia Mudavadi stays in Nairobi. Kalonzo Musyoka is too driven to attend fundraisers outside his Ukambani backyard. So, Miriam, we cannot be able to keep talking about these people meeting and trying to see who will become presidential for Agibera. Even me today, I can decide that I want to run for president, but is it viable? Is it a viable idea for me to run for president of the Republic of Kenya? Am I going to win? Because, Miriam, you cannot compete against formidable William Ruto, a ruthless William Ruto, when you're just joking around in Nairobi from one hotel to another taking tea. Thank you, Miriam.
Okay, thank you so much. Samuel Tawishi, good morning. Tawishi, are you there? Can you hear me? All right, so I think Tawish is having a bit of a hitch there with his connection, but hopefully he can join us because I want to hear his thoughts on... Tawish, good morning. Very well, he's not there, so I think we'll just move along. So interesting. And why... Tawish, good morning. All right, I think I'll just move on. Okay, so Douglas, President Uhuru Kenyatta seems to be the one who is, keen on assembling the troops, if I may use that word. And so yesterday we saw at the meeting between Jubilee Party and ODM, and it came out that they're working on a coalition. So it is the season of coalitions there, and finally they're able to pen a working.
Sorry.
Okay, I think we're having a bit of an issue there. Tawish, once you are able to talk to us and you have a clear reception, then I'll come to you. I think we'll just move along. Douglas Kirimi, it is a season for coalitions, and yesterday we saw Jubilee Party and ODM formally start the process of working together. What did you think of that? Was it a long time coming?
Thank you, Miriam. It is about time Jubilee Party and ODM and like-minded parties to dispel the notion that William Ruto said he does not need alliances in this country. My governor, the governor of Meru, Kiraito Murungi, was on Citizen TV last night, and he said that coalitions are inevitable. Coalitions are prerequisites of forming the next government. Coalitions and parties coming together are prerequisites of a great nation and a great government that is to be formed. You cannot isolate yourself in politics and think you can be able to make it. For Jubilee Party of Kenya to rebrand itself and take themselves to the next level, cooperation with other parties is tantamount to a great nation, to a great country, and also greater prosperity. If Jubilee administration has been able to deliver road infrastructure, deliver electricity, and bring the formidable ODM Party of Kenya that ODM party can bring their sizable contribution to reforms, to electoral justice in this country, and also bring their contribution to other aspects of our society that has not been captured by Jubilee, if they form the next government and they form the next coalition, Miriam. And that is the essence of politics, Miriam. Politics is about interest. And for William Ruto, shame on you that you think you can be able to make it alone in this country, because, Miriam, you cannot be your own ledger for as far as the presidential journey is concerned. I only think, Miriam, William Ruto wants to test waters for the first time in this country. We are having a politician saying he does not need others, which means the people that follow him from morning to evening in Karen are bought by his own money. This is a man that has put too much trust in money. Raila is a billionaire. President Uhuru Kenyatta is a billionaire. The others are billionaires like Gideon Moi, multi-billionaires in this country. But now you need to ask yourself a question. Why do these billionaires want to join their parties together? Because they know it is only by forming coalitions, it is only by coming together of great leaders, share ideas of Uhuru Kenyatta, transformative agendas of the president, and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and others, Gideon Moi of KANU, and everyone bring a contribution for a better nation together and take this country forward. People like William Ruto who do not want coalitions, who do not want to talk with anyone, he is forcing everyone to join his UBA alliance. Miriam, that is a man that is hell-bent on being a dictator and taking this country to the periphery where we are coming from. And Miriam, we cannot be able to look at it the way William Ruto looks at it. We need coalitions in this country, and I welcome Jubilee and ODM. And after agreeing to cooperate together, they can now bring other partners to be able to build a stronger cooperation in this country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, and we shall come back to that issue when we look at the coalitions that now seems to be in the making. But I'd like to turn our attention to another story on the front page of the Standard newspaper. 500,000 miss out on college placements. The story is on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. So quickly, what's really happening? Top students pick TVET courses as 465,765 can't be accounted for. Early 500,000 students who sat last year's KCSE examinations have not been placed in any course. A data released by Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha show that 271,762 candidates have managed to secure a degree, diploma and certificate courses, exposing the plight of the rest of the learners who sat for the examination. Of this, Professor Magoha said 134,690 were placed to pursue degree programs across 70 public and private universities. Another 137,072 will be enrolled in the technical and vocational education training, that is TVET institutions. And this means that out of the 737,527 candidates who sat last year's examination, 465,765 cannot be accounted for as they were not placed at all. What are the dangers? This is a very huge number, Douglas Kirimi. Close to half a million, yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, Miriam. What about a million?
I'm saying close to 500,000 students who sat for their KCSE have not been placed to continue with their education. So what I mean, this is a big number. I'm
Miriam,
shocked.
Before we ask the government what is their next course of action, we need to condemn the Minister for Education, because the president was very categorical in this country that after Form 4, you can only transition to a TVET all universities in this country, Miriam. Because the president is also on a 100% transition to secondary school. When you finish your primary education in this country, you can transition, and that has been fully implemented. I've spoken to a few principals, friends of mine, and family friends who have told me that the government has been able to implement that without delay. Even parents at home are being told by government, you can only take your children to school or to school. So Miriam, when 500,000 of our children cannot be able to get placement into TVET in this country, higher institutions of running in this country, it beholds to me that in future or in the near future, we are going to have a crisis in this country. Crime is going to go high. Our children are going to be, in quote, useless. Because Miriam, without education in today's world, you cannot be able to survive. Even without education, Miriam, You need some extra grit. You need some extra confidence that can only be brought about when you have gone to school, studied books, and also, Miriam, you have exposed yourself with outside world. I have always made these jokes before, that the students that study the British curriculum in this country do not go there because they want to study. They go there to network and do all that. The equivalent of Form 4, he formed a company where the First Lady went out wearing that the clothes that were manufactured by Normandic Fashion House that is ended by the president's son and his partner. Another son of another person, another parent who took their child to Peponi School that belongs to the Kenyatta family. And Miriam, if at Form 4, equivalent of our Form 4, the son of the president and a big company that would attract the attention of the First Lady and dignitaries across the world, ambassadors, would be dressed by the president's son company, Miriam, it tells you that our children lack opportunities. If they get these opportunities, they can be able to better their lives. But now, who to us? The Ministry of Education cannot give us a proper explanation on why half of our million children, they cannot give us credible, informative, and satisfactory response on why our children cannot be able to join TVETs. TVETs are all over. Polytechnics have been converted into TVET, Miriam. Even in my own village, there is a TVET that at one time was ended by my father of blessed memory. But our children cannot be able to join these institutions and better their lives, get a skill that can be able to better their lives, Miriam. It is very sad. And I think the Ministry of Education, before we ask the government this question, owes us an explanation and a satisfactory response to that end, Miriam. Because at the end of the day, half of a million children cannot be able to join TVETs and the universities in this country. When these children cannot join higher institutions of learning, it tells me something, Miriam, that I feel that our country is headed to the wrong direction. When the youngest of our population cannot be able to access basic rights like education, basic rights like a right to choose which courses to do in life, which skills to be able to get for them to teach themselves or to be taught that can be able to help them later in life. We have failed a generation of younger generation that is yet to join universities and TVET in this country. The Ministry of Education, headed by Professor George Magoha, who asks the people of Kenya an explanation why our younger population, why our children cannot join TVETs and the universities in this country, Miriam. I submit, and the government should be able to come up with speed, bring the people of Kenya to speed on what measures are they putting up in place to be able to return or take our children to institutions of higher learning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bros. I think something also not, worth noting that while Magoha was releasing this information yesterday, he's saying that Magoha attributed this to meanwhile, 6,617, I'm reading from page 4 of the Standard newspaper, 6,617 who had qualified for university forfeited their slots and opted for TVET colleges. Among those who applied to join TVET is a candidate who scored A. Data shows 19 other candidates who scored A- also applied for courses in TVET. A majority, 5,023, scored C+ and above. Magoha attributed this to the reforms the government has been implementing in the middle-level colleges. I'm happy to note candidates who qualify for university admission are increasingly embracing TVET courses. And I think we had this conversation a few months ago on how TVET have changed and how education, young people are accessing education, and we see a lot of candidates who also qualified to go to university chose this, to take TVET courses. So I think this is a lot in the amount of investment the government has been, because the government has been very, very, intentional in improving and expanding the capacity of the TVET institutions, especially those run by the government. So I think this shows, it's bearing some fruits. So we will continue with this conversation, but first, I'd like us to take a short break, and then we will be right back. The government of Kenya is keen on the development of social economic infrastructure to support the realization of the Big Four agenda and Vision 2030. The ambitious infrastructure projects are aimed at opening up the country for business and bolster productivity, particularly in the agricultural, manufacturing and the service industry, as this would bolster employment opportunities. Part of these critical infrastructure projects include the ongoing 27-kilometre expressway linking Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Nairobi's Westlands. Upon completion, the expressway will exponentially reduce travel times within Nairobi and thus help the country save man-hours, which is being lost in the traffic jams on a daily basis. The Lake Victoria Port Modernisation Project to increase cargo handling capacity of the port and to increase Kenya's bilateral and multilateral trading within the region. The expansion of healthcare facilities to facilitate fruition of the country's universal healthcare coverage under the Big Four agenda. By speeding up movement of people and goods, the government is aiming to promote trading through reduction of travel times and costs. Welcome back. And before we went to that break, we were looking at the story on page 4 of the Standard newspaper, where top students pick TVET courses as 465,765. It can't be accounted for. 465,000, 765. Douglas Kirimi. That's a lot of students. I don't know. What does the government? What kind of plans that the government have, to these students? And I'm assuming maybe they didn't qualify even for a certificate course, but what next? But before we went to the break, we were looking at the TVET and how even students who had qualified to join university courses opted to take on some courses in TVET. So I don't know, Douglas, what's your thoughts on that?
Miriam, in this country, I've attended a few sessions on exposure that government has been doing, exposure seminars that has been doing on TVET and vocation and the revitalized TVET curriculum. And when you look at that curriculum, I think the government has that particular part of revitalizing the TVET institutions in this country has been informed by the big infrastructural projects that the President of the Republic of Kenya was putting up across the nation and bringing Kenya under total construction. And they would get Chinese plumbers as people, jobs like that require skilled personnel, like plumbers, electricians and all that, would be required to travel all the way from China because there is a particular kind of qualification that they needed. But in this country, Miriam, we are also having parents that are hell-bent on taking their children to universities and getting them to courses that they cannot be able to help them later in life. I have a cousin that studied a course in university. Many years, I think 13 years later, my cousin is yet to get a formal job as far as his training is concerned. I'm trying to assume if you went to a TVET institution, my cousin would have been a millionaire today. This country being a capitalist society, we need to be able to give our children something that can be able to sustain them and keep them comfortable without the struggles that we have gone through without these kind of trainings. And also, Miriam, I think the government also, under the revitalized TVET curriculum, they have been able to transform village polytechnics into TVET institutions and county governments. And these TVET institutions, Miriam, offer all courses that you can ever think about, technical, business, and also even cosmetology courses and courses, catering courses that can be able to put food on the table, something that can be able to be done by ordinary people to change their ordinary lives and also lead a very quiet life without disturbing people or in quote disturbing the government of job creation and all that. We can be able to create our jobs and all that. But it is very concerned. It is a grave concern. It is a matter of grave concern for us as a people, as a country, and also as a generation that has gone ahead of our younger generation, that over 500,000 children cannot be able to join this TVET. In their village, there is a TVET. Maybe 2 or 3 villages, there is a TVET there. In their towns, there is a TVET there. And these TVET institutions or village polytechnics that transformed into TVET can be able to accommodate these children. I think, number one, the government of the Republic of Kenya should be able to work clearly and in direct contact with them, provincial administration to take these children and enroll them into something meaningful, even if they want to further their education. At least these children can be able to do something and get a skill that can pay their bills as even they are looking for further education, Miriam, in this country. Because, Miriam, half a million of our population, of our younger population, if they do not join school, next year I'm estimating almost 1 million now. Another year to come, maybe 3 years to come, over 1 million plus children will be missing school every year, will be missing institutions of higher learning from their secondary school life, Miriam. Then you ask yourself a question. Why do we educate our children when we cannot give them the tools to be able to take life head-on? There's a big difference, Miriam, and I'm sorry to say this. There's a big difference between the children that I went to school from, nursery school to standard 8, and from there they never furthered their education. There's a big difference. Even when they speak to me with a sense of guilt. I wish I went to school like you. I wish I furthered my education. And that is what we don't want to take, that scourge of shame, even to me and others into the future, Miriam. Okay. The government of the Republic of Kenya can do something to save our children and save the posterity. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And I think this is a conversation that we shall continue having. I think we'll create some time where we'll just look at the TVET, institutions and, what the government has been doing. Because as I mentioned there earlier, the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta has been very intentional in how they've been building capacity, increasing and making sure that these institutions are able to bring in as many students as possible who wants to pursue their education further after high school. But also, we know TVET is divided into two. There's one for the business courses, and then there's one for the technical courses that, for the skills and all that you need. So it's a very important conversation that we will continue having. So right now, I'd like for us to turn our attention to the Star newspaper and the rise and fall of Matatu King Sonko. That is an exclusive on the Star, so I will not get into that. But there's a story down there. 6 cops linked to death of Kia Njokoma brothers detained for 2 weeks. The story is on page 9 of the Star newspaper. Okay, so there we go. 6 police officers linked to the killing of 2 Embu brothers 2 weeks ago have been detained for 14 days. The death of Benson Njiru and Emmanuel Mutura has caused an uproar in the country, with Kenyans calling for justice for the 2 brothers, Corporals Benson Mombuthia and Consolata Kariuki, alongside their colleagues Constable Martin Wanyama, Lillian Cherono, Nicholas Sang and James Mwaniki, were arraigned on Tuesday in Milimani under tight security. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions sought the 2 weeks to detain the suspects as they complete investigations. And Douglas, we talked about this yesterday, and I think, yes, it's a issue that is of national interest. I think we have to also keep talking about it. And it's not the first time that we hear cases like this from a few rogue police officers that we do have in our forces, because not all police officers in this country, behave in this manner. So by the law, acting so fast and arresting these cops for suspected links to the death of these 2 Embu brothers, what will this serve for the rest of the police officers who are not very keen in maintaining law and order? Instead, they engage in other activities that may endanger the life of Kenyans.
Miriam, I'm very different from the Kejakoma brothers killing and the killings in the recent past that have happened, permitted by the police service in this country. Miriam, we need to look at a problem that is deeper than picking a human being and killing children. The police officers, when I so underestimated their age, they have children, the age of the children from Kejakoma, the younger boys that were killed by the police. When you look at it, Miriam, from a very different perspective, you can only discover that there is a deeper problem in our national police service or in the general populace that is being overlooked, and also that is being given a wide berth when it comes to dealing with the real issue in this country. I saw the president form a depression unit at Mathari Hospital, if I'm not wrong, Miriam. Sometimes these details escape me. This depression all when a mental unit that was formed to specifically deal with the depression in this country, so many people have been depressed during the year of Corona and the second year of Corona, which is 2021. So many people have been depressed, Miriam. Their income has nosedived. Their children cannot be able to sustainably keep their children in school. And also, Miriam, one thing I think we are having a huge problem on is the issue of overlooking these issues in the police service and everywhere. We have seen spouses stabbing their partners, their better halves. We've seen young brothers killing each other. In this country, the other day we saw 4 men being killed. Miriam, after the Kajakoma issue, 4 men were killed in Kitengela. The country is white. The country is behaving as if nothing happened. People have disappeared in this country. People have been killed, Miriam. We need to deal with the issue of depression as a national emergency. The way the President of the Republic of Kenya, the then President of the Republic of Kenya at one time, President Moi and President Kibaki, declared HIV and AIDS a national disaster. We need a framework on how to deal with these depression cases in this country, Miriam, because so many people are suffering. And I'm told by doctor friends of mine that you cannot be able to treat depression until you reach a stage of acceptance. Accept that you are depressed and accept that you need help. Because at the end of the day, Miriam, these problems are deeper than we think. The Kiajakoma brothers were killed by people who were supposed to be their parents, guarding younger boys. If I find a young girl stranded, during the year of Corona 2020, I was in Meru with my friend who disappeared, Monda Mbijewe, and we found a younger girl on the road towards Meru town, who has been chased away at night in court by the boyfriend, and we had to take the girl to their home in the middle of the night when there was curfew and everything. And the girl reached home safely, and she's forever grateful to God. But when you look at it, Miriam, in this country, instead of protecting the younger generation like the Kajakoma brothers, the police officers would just kill them. Why would you kill younger boys like those, even including if it is a bribe they cannot give you? Maybe you can order them at ransom, arrest them, the parents can pay a ransom, but the Kajakoma brothers had done nothing to 1, 2, 3, or 4 police officers, Miriam. There is nothing that those children did wrong to those people to warrant their deaths, Miriam. They died at a young age, not even at their prime. They were just starting out in life, and the younger boys lost their lives. The brothers who were killed in Kitengela and their 2 cousins, the 4 younger souls that died there, they were never even at their prime, Miriam. These were younger men and younger men that were starting life, but they were killed by villagers in Kitengela, being accused of being cattle rustlers and other bad things, Miriam. We should not label the next generation or the younger population in this country as criminals, thieves, and the people of bad repute in this country. We cannot build a country when police officers are killing younger boys like the children from Kianjakoma.
Right.
We cannot be able to build a country, Miriam, when police officers and others are shutting their eyes when the 4 brothers from Kitengela die in this country. And everyone that has lost their lives, Miriam, may the Lord rest their souls in eternal peace. Because at the end of the day, Miriam, our country cannot continue this way. We need a framework on how to work with those deeper issues in this country, Miriam. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So now we get into our other conversation on coalitions. We see politicians scrambling right, left, center, trying to build up, coalitions that may lead to, the next elections, 2022. So that is the conversation we're having now, and we shall start with the story on page 8 of the Star newspaper. All right, Mount Kenya meeting ends in disarray as Kuria storms out. A meeting to forge Mount Kenya unity ended in disarray after Gatundu South Member of Parliament Moses Kuria declared at a press conference that he is in Tangatanga to stay. Tangatanga is a breakaway wing of the Jubilee Party supporting Deputy President William Ruto's 2022 presidential bid. After the press, other party leaders confronted Kuria over the remark, but an apologetic Kuria stormed out of the meeting. Kuria, na Kenya leader Martha Karua, and her TSP counterpart Mwangi Kiunjuri had last week come up with Mount Kenya Unity Caucus to spearhead the unity of the region. Yesterday's drama has lifted the lead on the hard task and ahead hard task ahead to get President Uhuru Kenyatta's backyard to speak in one voice. So Moses Kuria there stormed out of that meeting, even as these three leaders have met now for a few times, trying to bring the leadership of Mount Kenya together to speak in one voice as we approach next year's election. What do you make of this new turn of events in this new coalition that was in the making?
Miriam, I know Moses Kuria than most of the people in the country. Moses Kuria works where money is poured or where money is given. It is his greed that is leading him. You'll find him tomorrow saying that those are normal political outbursts and all that when the check is increased, Miriam. Maybe Karen renewed his subscription of more money and all that. Because Miriam, there is no way I can go on record saying Moses Kuria is a man that is after money in this country. This is a man with no principles. This is a man that was insulting Raila Odinga right left the center when he was given money. He no longer insults Raila in this country. Why? Because the one that was paying him is no longer calling the tune in his pockets. So Miriam, this is a leader that is always guided by his own greed and also his own satisfaction rather than the satisfaction of the communities. When you look at Martha Karua, how much money can you give Martha Karua, a former powerful justice minister, a career lawyer, a woman that has invested her life in herself and her children and all that? What can you give Martha Karua at her age? Mwangi Kiunjuri was a very powerful devolution minister. Mwangi Kiunjuri was an MP for 15 years in Laikipia East. Mwangi Kiunjuri has been an assistant minister in this country. How much money can you give a man that was accused of stealing billions from the Ministry of Agriculture? How much money can you give him? Allegedly accused Miriam. Sorry, Miriam. I am not calling Mwangi Kiunjuri a thief. I'm saying allegedly accused of stealing billions of shillings from the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, Moses Kuria and others who are coming together, these are people who are receiving money to join these outfits, and even those that are in Karen, who are joining William Ruto, are people who have been on a paycheck. When you look at the outburst of Gavana Mushomba, the women left for Kiambu County, he said when the president picks his phone and they calls him, Gavana, I need you at the State House right now. Even if she was seated at the deputy president's residence, she would rush to State House and tell the president, I'm back, sir. And when these people keep now speaking to the media in parables and proverbs, saying that the president needs to just shout to Gavana Mushomba, I need you to come back to Jubilee. She would rush back to Jubilee, claiming that the president comes from their region, is their president, they were elected on their ticket. It shows you one thing. These are just normal politicians, and politics is about interest. There's nothing Kiunjuri and Moses Kuria were discussing that is of national importance, Miriam. I can authoritatively, as a politician, report that there is nothing of importance. They were reporting that they are organizing. They are only organizing for their own interest. Kirito Murungi, my governor, was on TV last night. He said, when these people sit in cross-the-door meetings, it is jobs for the big boys. Then because you want to sanitize it and get votes from the people, you start talking about roads, development and all that. And I can't doubt a 70-year-old governor who is my governor, a man who has been in politics since I was born in 1992. He has never been defeated in any position that he has ever ran for, Miriam. Why would I doubt the governor when he says Mwangi Kiunjuri, Martha Karua, Moses Wetangula, and everyone that is meeting behind cross the doors, they are meeting because of the big boys and their jobs. Right. Miriam, even Mwangi Kiunjuri, Martha Karua, Moses Kuria, they were not speaking about the ordinary peoples in Kiambu and other parts of this central Kenya. Now, you need to look at it before I conclude on my point, Miriam. The other day, we saw in newspapers yesterday that MPs shot a bill that was supposed to compel foreign contractors who come into this country to give all social materials and labor from our people in this country, so that we shall never have the so that we shall not have Miriam, so that we shall not have Chinese bring people from China to come and do things that can be done by Kenyans. Why did Moses Kuria and others from Tanga and Mwangi Kiunjuri call people from central Kenya and tell them, please do not shout down that motion in parliament if it is about the ordinary people? Because if a road is being constructed in our village and the Chinese come with labor from China, but there is a law in place that says that Douglas Keremi should be hired to be able to do the manual work and all materials be sourced locally, I'll make money, the Chinese will make money, they'll be happy and I'll be happy. So these things are not about us, Miriam. Let them continue their big boys talk, and Moses Kuria will be back to the fore when Mwangi Kiunjuri and others increase the money to Moses Kuria. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Samuel Tawish, I see you back. I don't know if you can hear me. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, and my colleague panelist, Douglas Bundikiremi. My apologies. Indeed, I've had a network hitch. That's why I wasn't able really to connect.
No problem. Nice to have you nevertheless. So there was a meeting on Mount Kenya yesterday that ended in disarray after Kuria stormed out. That is the story we're looking at right now, Tawish. And the meeting to forge Mount Kenya unity ended in disarray after Gatundu South Member of Parliament, Moses Kuria, declared at a press conference that he is in Tanga. And then when he was questioned about it, he stormed off. And so this is one of the people who were in those meetings, who was in that meeting, said, I was very bitter with Kuria when he tried to turn the meeting into a Tanga function, and I had to confront him. Mathenge told the Star, warning that such remarks risk the caucus disintegration. A Party of Democratic Unity leader Isaiah Gichu admitted that there was an issue, but said it will be resolved in the next meeting. Kuria, Karua, and Kinjuri attended the meeting in Thika. So even that is not working out too well this far. Samuel Tawish, are you surprised?
Miriam, I'm not quite surprised. You remember even in my previous submission on this very topic regarding the three MKs from Mount Kenya, that is Mwangi Kiunjuri, Martha Karua, and of course Moses Kuria. You heard me say, and I think I want to reiterate, that these are individuals who are serving their own interest, and some of them, especially Mwangi Kiunjuri and Moses Kuria, are people who are bidding for Deputy President William Ruto. And as you well know, Martha Karua, of course, the former MP from, of course, those sides of Kirinyaga County, has not had a soft spot for Deputy President William Ruto. And so if there was a disguise in any case, to try and bring Mount Kenya together, of course, through these political parties of NARC that is being led by Martha Karua, the Service Party by Mwangi Kiunjuri, and Chama cha Kazi by Moses Kuria, it would have served the best interests of the people of Central Kenya and the Kenyan population at large, if at all it was a genuine kind of conversation or dialogue towards unifying the people of Mount Kenya. I told you last time that this is something that is an exercise in futility, something that has a hidden agenda, and it is not just even 2-3 days. It is coming to the fore. It's coming to the reality. And because I understand Moses Kuria is only but working for Deputy President William Ruto, so he was trying to think like, if they could bring on board the likes of Martha Karua and, of course, Mwangi Kiunjuri, who has also, of course, hinted that he could perhaps work with Deputy President William Ruto, then they come through that vehicle, actually auction the people of Central Kenya to Deputy President William Ruto, or to the highest bidder, who, in my own consideration, is William Ruto as we speak today, in as far as, of course, buying political support is concerned. Therefore, this was something that doesn't really surprise me, Miriam. I do not expect that it is going to bear any fruit for Mwangi Kiunjuri, Moses Kuria, and Martha Karua, because again, the competing interests in those three individuals, Miriam, cannot allow them to strike a compromise, or rather to sacrifice their own interest and ambition and give a direction that is for the greater people of Mount Kenya, for that matter, Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'd like for us to take a short break, and then we will come back and continue with the politics of coalition. As yesterday, Jubilee and ODM entered a pre-election coalition deal, and also One Kenya Alliance failed to get a flag bearer. They had a meeting for 2 days in Naivasha. And is there a possibility of another fourth alliance, as Mukisa Kitui, Justin Muturi, and Kivutha Kibwana also met yesterday, and there are talks that they could be forming a new alliance. And just down there on the Daily Nation, I think, is it a special feature on the Daily Nation? Narok County government recently broke ground for Masai Mara International Airport. I think that is very exciting. As we know, Masai Mara is a key tourist attraction and destination in this country. The story is on page 19 and 22 of the Daily Nations. And so we'll be back after this short break to continue with the conversation of politics of coalitions.
The fight against the deeply entrenched culture of corruption by the government of Kenya has remained steadfast. At the beginning of his term in office in 2013, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta made firm pronouncements against corruption and those that perpetrated the vice.
Wapende wasipende, rafiki ama adui, ndugu ama dada, wewe kama unataka kuingiana na mambo ya ufisadi, yeah? Tutapigana na wewe. You can be my brother, you can be my sister, but you are an enemy of the Republic of Kenya and we will fight with you.
The president cautioned against politicization of the fight against graft and that the government agencies involved in the anti-corruption campaign would remain firm and work without fear or favor. In the National Youth Service Scandal 1, for instance, chief architects of the multi-million shilling were investigated and arraigned in court, and the government, through Assets Recovery Agency, has been able to recover parts of the lost funds and associated properties. The architects of the second corruption scandals at the NYS, including the Ngaritas, were investigated and arraigned in court, and part of the monies and properties fraudulently acquired by the family recovered by ARA. Also significantly, the government continues to pursue perpetrators of the infamous Aurora and Kimorel Dam scandal. The multi-billion shilling scandal has seen high-profile government officials being kicked out of office. Government investigative agencies have seized the matter, and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions have filed cases against some of the key architects of the corruption scandal. These are just among many other ongoing corruption cases which are either under investigation or prosecution before the courts. The government of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta remains firm and committed to fighting the cancer of corruption in the Republic of Kenya. It is incumbent upon Kenyans of all walks to rise up and help the government in this epic fight against graft, because corruption robs the nation of its present and future. Let us save the country of the billions that are lost to corruption each year by reporting corruption to relevant government agencies.
All right, welcome back. And that was a short clip to show how far and the war against corruption here in the country. So before we went to that short break, we were having a conversation on politics of coalitions, as right now that I think is the main thing that you see politicians trying to come together and form coalitions. And such is what Mukisa Gitui, Justin Muturi, and Kivutha Kibwana seems to be doing. We have the stories on page 4, 5, and 6 of this Daily Nation. So let's just get there and see what Mukisa Gitui. All right, so it's here. Kenya's political landscape is about to change with the formation of a fourth force, the Daily Nation has learned, an outfit bringing together National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi, Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana, and the immediate former UN Conference and Trade Development Secretary General Mukisa Gitui looms ahead of the general election. The three held a 3-hour closed-door meeting at a city hotel on forming the outfit to be known as the National Alliance for Change. Addressing journalists after the meeting, Mr. Muturi, Ms. Dr. Gitui, and Professor Kibwana said they have worked together before. We cannot change this country by doing things the same way. We must depart from our chaotic and divisive politics to chart a new path for Kenya. So we do have a third way, a third alliance option there for Kenyans. What do you make of this, a new alliance in the offing, Douglas Kirimi?
Thank you, Miriam. This alliance is not new. These people are very old people that I used to study in books in primary school and secondary school. Mukisa Gitui, Justin Biden, Joka Muturi, and Kivutha Kibwana, the activist from Makueni. Professor Kibwana brings to the fore issues, and Mukisa Gitui and also Justin Muturi brings the issues to the fore. Why are these older generation politicians regrouping together? They are regrouping together, forming alliances with each other because there is no younger people. Younger people have abdicated their duty and the responsibility of taking their country forward by giving these old people an opportunity. These people went to parliament in 1990s when I was being born. 2021,
I'm still here advocating for the older generation of leaders and asking them which coalitions they are forming next. The younger people in this generation form over 70% of our population, and the many people in this country are younger people who should be able to rise up and be able to send people like Justin Bidan Muturi, who has been forever here as an MP, as a magistrate. Now he is the National Speaker of National Assembly for over 10 years. Now he says he wants to be president and all manner of things, Miriam. Mukisa Kitui was an MP when I was in primary school, when I was a small boy. But now Mukisa Kitui still tells us he is the future of this country and the posterity. Kibudha Kibwana, the same person who was in the second liberation, he tells me he wants to be the president in 2022 and beyond. Miriam, it's about time the young people come together, chart a way forward, and declare that this country can be able to be steered forward by the old guards. But now, the problem that I have with these coalitions is that these old people have the money, drive, and also they have decided to take the bulls by its own. When you look at Mwangi Kionjuri, he went to parliament as a younger man. But today, he tells us the future belongs to Kionjuri and the posterity belongs to him and the Martha Karuas of this world. So, Miriam, it is a call to the young people to even themselves organize even one meeting. Gideon Moise of this world. Gideon Moise was a very powerful shadow chairman of KANU when his father was in power. Later on, he has become many things in this country, including a senator for over 10 years now. What positive change have we seen even when they have been in direct contact with a mandate from the people and a social contract? It is about time young people became serious and they read their way in like no other, because Justin Muturi has no votes. Mukisa Kitui has no votes. They are depending on younger people to be able to propel them to power. Miriam, these coalitions that they are forming now and then, the young people of this country who are the Ranger population are the collateral damage. Okay. Or they are collateral in terms of what they are going to negotiate for. Moses Kuria has no people from Gatundu South. He has the younger people from this nation who are going to be used as a collateral for his own negotiation. And remember, Kiraito said last night, and I'll keep repeating, it is jobs for the old and the big boys like Justin Muturi, Mukisa Kitui, and others. They can do all manner of coalitions that they can, but there are only two formidable candidates for president seats in 2022. Right Honorable Raila Odinga and William Ruto. Thank you.
Thank you. And to be fair, Raila is a bit older, and I think he's also banking on the votes of younger people. So I think it cuts across. Thank you so much, Douglas. Some also wish Muturi, Kitui, Kibwana coalition. Is this something you think that will give Deputy President William Ruto a sleepless night?
Thank you once more, Miriam and Douglas Bundi-Kirimi. Miriam, you remember I told you last time that this Kenyan politics is going to be very interesting, especially as we get into the home stretch ahead of the 2022 general election. And indeed, you can see the unfolding events as we head into that particular election, that there are a lot of people who are now coming out purportedly to try and form coalitions or declare interest really to contest for presidency come 2022. But the bottom line remains, Miriam, what are the prospects? What are the chances of these individuals really making it to the ballot? And even if they made it to the ballot, what are the chances that they're eventually going to clinch the presidency? I mean, we need to live with the reality. Kenyan politics is more tribal. You need to look into the tribal inclination and the big boys around. The likes of Raila Odinga, Deputy President William Ruto, I will say authoritatively that they are the only formidable individuals that we have in as far as 2022 contest is concerned. So these other guys are just engaging as in hocus pocus. I do not see anything tangible really coming out of it. I do not see the future in those particular leaders. Yes, when you look into the credibility, the integrity question on the part of Mukisa Kitui, for example, or the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Bundi, Muturi, or even if you looked at Kibwana Kibwana, Professor from Makueni, these are accomplished politicians or accomplished leaders that we have in the country. But do they have that charisma really to be able to whip their support base really to vote for them and say maybe to win over Raila Odinga or even William Ruto? It is not possible. What I'm foreseeing in these particular coalitions, Miriam, as we head into 2022, perhaps these individuals are just but trying to raise their stakes so that they can have a bargaining power with the big boys, the likes of Raila Odinga and maybe William Ruto as we get into the home stretch of 2022 general election. But it is not really about the hope and the belief that they're going to make it to the ballot and maybe really make an impact in as far as the election is concerned. As they usually say, if I should quote Raila Odinga, farasi ni wawili. Others are just but there to follow or escort. Even the likes of the One Kenya Alliance, they have no option but to either support Deputy President William Ruto or Raila Odinga. It depends which side they will be persuaded to support. Miriam, I submit.
All right, and speaking of One Kenya Alliance, as we conclude the politics of coalitions conversation this morning, One Kenya Alliance fails to name a flag bearer as it digs in on 2022 poll deal with Raila. The story is on page 4 of the Daily Nation. At I wish you're a prophet. You've been prophesying this thing together with Douglas. Now, the One Kenya Alliance principals took a headline stance on the proposed coalition talks with the Orange Democratic Movement, insisting that they will field their own presidential candidate in next year's general election. Sources who attended the two-day One Kenya Alliance conference that ended yesterday in Naivasha indicated that the alliance has also suspended any coalition talks with ODM until after the anticipated building bridges initiative judgment by the Court of Appeal on Friday. Now, in the Naivasha meeting, the OCA leaders also failed to broker a deal on the choice of flag bearer for their new outfit, further creating fusers in the alliance. So if Raila was part of that alliance, I think getting a flag bearer would be much easier for them. Douglas, don't you think so? As we see them work in the past.
These people can work at whims and the whims of Raila Odinga, because Miriam is the only person that is even fashionable to become president. I have said before that Moses Wetangula, except that he controls some people in Bungoma. You cannot insult Moses Wetangula. I give it up to him. When people tried to run for Kabuchai by election seat that fell vacant when MP Rosoet, the former MP Rosoet of Kabuchai, died, Moses Masika Wetangula made sure that people were beaten. And I know that is a very crude way of doing politics, but he made sure they were beaten Lena away, and the Karasinga went on to, Majimbo Karasinga went on to win, which means he has a control of Bungoma. But Kenya is made up of 47 counties in this country. When he went with Moses Wetangula in our village, some people can pass him without recognizing him. But Raila smiling around in my village, people know this is Raila walking around. Kalonzo Musyoka can be mistaken of another villager in my village. But Raila is a person that has been there. William Ruto, the same thing. So these people from this alliance, One Kenya Alliance, are only joking. They know what they are doing. And they know very well their candidate is Raila Odinga. And I told them, if their candidate is not Raila, go and join Ruto. Because none of you can become president. You're wasting government resources by being reconciled, grown-up people who want to keep meeting the president to be reconciled every day, and they have no differences together with Raila. How can you be a man with the differences with another and you keep asking him for kickbacks from ODM when ODM won the money from political parties fund that was not supposed to be shared among us, the NASAP co-principals? These people, Miriam, I call them political jokers, and they can only work under qualms and the whims of Raila Odinga or at his BS. But at the end of the day, Miriam, these people want to tell us Musalia Mudavadi can become villagers. My friend did not even know that this man exists in this country. Miriam, if any one of them wanted to become president, the way William Ruto moves around in choppers meeting, going to like 10 or 20 churches at a go, that is what they should be doing now. But they're still meeting in hotels. How many voters meet in the Great Rift Valley Road where they are meeting in Naivasha? How many people meet in state house in Mombasa where they are being reconciled? If even President Uhuru Kenyatta wants to reconcile Gideon Moi and others to Raila, they should do a big meeting at Kenoru Stadium in Meru. Okay. In Ishaweri, they can do in Kirigete, in Kiambu. Because, Miriam, you cannot... These are presidential materials. These are people who want to be president, but they want to keep meeting in hotels. How many voters are in Serena Hotel this morning, Miriam? Thank you.
They have to agree there before they go out there and speak out with one voice. And the coalition will and must field a candidate in the elections. We are the face of Kenya, and One Kenya Alliance is the political outfit to keep an eye on, added Samburu West Member of Parliament Naisula Lesuda. Samuel Tawish, One Kenya Alliance is very serious, except they cannot agree right now or the name of a flag bearer.
Miriam, I'm quite surprised that you are putting that assertion that One Kenya Alliance appears to be serious. Well, maybe if the latest events is anything to go by,
Samburu West Member of Parliament has said they will file for a candidate, and I know you don't You think that is a joke?
Well, you could quite be forgiven really to make such a foregone conclusion that One Kenya Alliance is becoming serious by the day, especially as we head to 2022 general election. But from where I sit, I do not see any substantive or serious leadership coming from the One Kenya Alliance. And that is why you see the headliners in the One Kenya Alliance formation, especially drawn from ANCs of Musalia Mudavadi and Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, are the ones who are forcing, and you could clearly see even from the script they are reading yesterday, the presser that they are giving out yesterday, that they are going to field a presidential candidate, and that candidate is amongst the four individuals. That is, it will either be Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya, Gideon Moi of KANU, or it could be Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper, or Musalia Mudavadi of ANC. That in itself tells you that these individuals do not want, they want really to get a candidate out of that particular formation without Raila's question, because they know once Raila comes in, then automatically he's going to, of course, to get the backing of most of the people in that particular coalition or arrangement. Because again, if you are to use any criteria, say for example, the number of elected leaders from the county assemblies to members of National Assembly, Senate or governors, or even the support across the country, Raila Odinga is one person who really commands a huge population in as far as political support is concerned. The same cannot be said of One Kenya Alliance. How many elected leaders on NC ticket do we have even in the National Assembly? They do not even make 10. Look at Wiper. I think the biggest they have is about 12. Look at Ford Kenya. They have about 1 or 2, including, of course, Moses Wetangula himself, the party leader. Gideon Moi has almost 5 members elected. You cannot compare the same with, say, Raila Odinga, who has almost 100 MPs elected on an ODM ticket. You look into 17. But again, I'm sure the concentration is more on the One Kenya Alliance. What I'm basically trying to say is these people do not stand a chance, Miriam. They only stand a chance if they can gang up with either Raila Odinga or Kalonzo, or Raila Odinga or William Ruto.